Downtown Mount Vernon residents were saved again, and downtown businesses were saved again. Downtown business owner Sheena Wilson is here today. She owns Bloom Floral on First Street. Sheena has witnessed firsthand what an integral part of our downtown this flood wall has become. As I walked downtown yesterday, several folks went out of their way to thank the city of Mount Vernon for this investment. But I think all of us here are just extremely grateful for this infrastructure and for the unified effort that it took between local and state and federal governments to actually make this infrastructure a reality. I'm grateful to Senator Murray, who championed the initial study and found the funding to get this project off of the ground. Thank you for being here with us today. With this wall defending us in our background, residents of Mount Vernon were freed up this week to do what Skagitonians do best, to reach out, to help each other, and to lift each other up in this difficult time. It has really been an amazing thing to witness. And I say that with enthusiasm, but it's enthusiasm that is tempered by the reality that we still have Skagitonians who can't go back to their homes this morning. It's tempered by the fact that we are not in the clear yet. There's more rain on the way. This flood fight continues, and we have some pretty amazing folks in Skagit County and in the city of Mount Vernon who continue to support those efforts. And so they are here and available if you want to ask questions about the flood fight. Our local Mount Vernon EOC Incident Commander, Fire Chief Brian Harris, is here today. Our EOC Operations Lead, our Public Works Director, Chris Phillips, is also here today. They can answer questions about the flood wall and about local flood fighting in the city of Mount Vernon. We also have the Skagit County Department of Emergency Management here and available for questions today as well. I will step aside and let you ask those questions.
Where do things stand right now, and what's in store? I should ask, what's in store for next week, and what's your message to Washington Countyans?
I think the best answer to that is no. Who knows what's coming?
All right, I'm Reed Wolcott, Warning Coordination Meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Seattle. The bottom line is we're not done. This event is basically partway through at this point in time. While today is a nice sunny day up here in beautiful Skagit County, we are looking forward towards the next event. We have additional rainfall, another atmospheric river on the way. It is expected to bring significant rainfall once again to the headwaters of the Skagit River and up and down the Cascades. That will bring another round of flood. Specifically for the Skagit River, we're looking at anywhere between 4 and 7 inches of additional rainfall in the mountains. That's expected to bring the rivers up to at least moderate flood stage once again, if not over major flood stage. The high-end scenarios bring it up to near where it crested yesterday morning, just after midnight. One of the big reasons for this is the rainfall that we had before filled the dams upstream. So they're emptying as fast as they can, but there is not a lot of space up there for additional rainfall, which means that we can't hold back that much water. So it doesn't take as much rainfall to cause the level of flooding that we saw the other day. And again, while the most likely scenario is not as significant as we saw, it is still well within the range of possibilities that we end up right back where we were yesterday morning. In addition to that, we're looking at this next system bringing in much stronger winds. We didn't really see a ton of wind with the last one. We're looking at a 75% chance of at least 45 mile per hour gusts, about a 50% chance of gusts over 50. That's significant. Doesn't sound significant because we deal with that kind of wind here in the Northwest all the time. But as you may have seen as you've driven around the region, we are completely saturated. There are still trees submerged. Soils are extremely loose. It does not take 50-mile-an-hour winds to knock over trees, cause power outages, fall onto vehicles, houses, etc. That is a significant concern as response efforts go on. And not only the safety of the people who live here, but the safety of the people who are responding to this disaster. As we move forward into next week, we're fortunate the conditions begin to cool. We are looking at snow levels starting to drop to 2,000 feet, say, by Wednesday, 1,500 feet by Friday. That will shut off the majority of the potential for additional flooding in the extended forecast, but it does bring additional complications. Our mountain locations like Marble Mount, New Halem, etc., we can have cold air settle in those locations, and it may start to snow. That will also hamper response and recovery efforts in those areas. It's not, again, it may not be the most likely scenario, but it is well within the realm of possibility and is another cascading potential impact with this event that will make response and recovery very challenging. So, bottom line, we are not done. We're not out of the woods with this particular event. We're halfway through. And we will be here at the National Weather Service with our River Forecast Center, the local forecast office. Our region, our national headquarters are fully behind this. We have support coming in from all over the country. I personally have been up here at the Skagit County EOC for the last 4 days. I have relief that is actually relieving me today. I feel very fortunate in that. Coming up from Salt Lake and from the Bay Area, my counterparts at those offices are here to provide support so that I can take a little bit of a break and start coming back here once again once we have our next round of flooding. So again, I'm very grateful for the support of everybody that you see here, the emergency management, our leadership, everybody who's involved in this response. We could not do it without you, and we thank you very much.
Senator Murray, being a champion of this flood wall since its inception, what are you feeling now seeing it at work this week?
It is really incredible. I was trouncing in knee-deep water. Well, it would come up to the mayor's ankles, but for me, it was knee-deep water 20 years ago in a horrific flood we had, and to now come back and know that the businesses that I saw, business owners with tears in their eyes because they lost so much of their merchandise and had to recover, are now safe. And that this investment in this wall really made a difference for this community in lives and dollars and businesses in this community. It's a really good example of showing you preventive infrastructure makes a difference.
A question for Julie. Do we have any numbers on the number of injuries, rescues, buildings flooded?
Yes, we have had over 20 rescues. In fact, we had a rescue this morning. It may even be more than that. That 20 is just what we're counting in the EOC. Each of our city jurisdictions, town jurisdictions, they might be doing additional rescues. We're starting to put all that picture together on this sunny day. We have a moment to collect all that information. Thankfully, no deaths to report, no fatalities. But really, it's been the rescues, and it's been rescues from people who either didn't evacuate, couldn't evacuate, or are just being plain silly and driving through floodwaters when they shouldn't. Yep.
The Department of Fish and Wildlife's Swiftwater Rescue, is that included in the EOC?
I believe, yes, we do have DNR and Fish and Wildlife in the EOC, so yes, we've included those.
And then just to zoom out on your question, which I appreciate about the number of rescues, that's been asked, I think, the last couple times we've had events like this. So I did ask our state EOC team what numbers they have currently for statewide, the number of emergency rescues. The number they reported to me this morning, which I think is current as of last night, is about 250. Obviously, the number is likely more than that. That's based on reports that have come in to them, but they believe about 250. And so that's a significant number, obviously, here, but in multiple counties, of course, are facing a similar situation. Again, it goes without saying we deeply appreciate all the first responders. The senators and I had a chance to meet with many of those first responders in Monroe, where we were earlier, and of course here today, and we just deeply appreciate them putting themselves in harm's way to rescue folks who really desperately need it.
Governor, statewide, do you have any stats as far as injuries or deaths?
So statewide, what you just heard is true statewide in terms of deaths. I mean, I think our prayers are certainly been answered so far, in some ways remarkably so. I just have to say that right now we have no reported deaths that have come in to the state central emergency system. And as far as we know this time, no what I would describe as significant injuries. And so that is, we're just deeply grateful for that. And it's a credit to the first responders, to the whole community all around the state that have just been there, the coordination. I've said before, but I'll say it again. I ask wherever I go, hey, do you need any more resources? When I'm talking to first responders or local elected officials, and the response has always been, no, we've got what we need. And so that's a sign that good communication is going on all across the state amongst tribes, local jurisdictions, community partners. You get the idea. And so, and obviously a little bit of luck. Those floodwaters right here in the Skagit could easily have been 3, 4, 5, even 6 feet higher than they were. And so we feel fortunate.
Governor, you spoke yesterday about the FEMA declaration response that's coming in. Yeah. Have you talked with Secretary Noem about what kind of aid Washington will be receiving over the next couple of days and when they're expected to be on ground?
Sure. So I did speak with Secretary Noem. Thank you. Yesterday, yes, thank you. Yesterday morning. That's right. It was yesterday morning. And thank you, Senator. And I'll just say what I said earlier. She was very, very gracious. I just want to start with that. The way I would describe the call is what every Washingtonian would want from a cabinet member calling a governor about a real crisis in their state. She was gracious. She was kind. She asked how we were doing as a state. So we had a very productive conversation. As you might imagine, I expressed my great thanks to her for the declaration. In a nutshell, what we have right now, and the senators can speak to this because they're very experienced in these as well, so I'll defer to them, but is for the short term, dealing with rescues, clearing debris, that type of emergent needs that we have right now across many counties. They are here, they're staged, they're working with the partners you see here. So that is going on. That is separate from the next conversation after we dig ourselves out of this, which is seeking relief, financial support for what will undoubtedly be a very, very, speaking financially, costly event for individuals, businesses, our state, local governments. You get the idea, but I'll also ask the senators if they want to add to that as well.
I think that's a really important distinction. The emergency declaration that was done yesterday, thankfully, will help with some of the immediate issues. But what has to happen now, and it always takes so long, is that the governor has to send out all of his teams to do an assessment. And we have a very big state with a lot of different regions that have been impacted, from homes to businesses to roads. You listed all of it. Put that all together and then request emergency funding from FEMA for the future. Could be months away before all of that is put in place. And I know that's hard for people who are trying to get back in their home or worried about what they're going to do next. But it does take time to do that. Once that happens, Senator Cantwell and I and the delegation will have to work really hard to make sure the administration funds the requests that the state puts in.
I think the key thing is now when you're dealing with an emergency, the things that we really want is we want with evacuations to have shelter. We just saw in Snohomish County the Red Cross and the facility that's setting up there. But when FEMA comes into the picture, those shelters are more supported and have more resources available to them. And that's very important because this is in many parts of our state. Secondly, we need their help in clearing these roads. And we have some very big economic drivers to our state. When you think about a border crossing at Sumas and you think about Highway 2 and its economic impact, Highway 12, we will need their help in trying to stabilize those situations. And then if we are going to see future evacuations, I want to thank the National Guard. They've done a great job. They've responded well, but they can help in that, and we saw some more, I think, flexibility in how those resources were being deployed because the FEMA is showing up.
Yeah, if I can just add one last thing, is I'm deeply grateful to the 2 U.S. senators who are here who supported, and that's an understatement, the request. There are a lot of conversations and things going behind the scenes to get that emergency declaration, as you might imagine, and by extension to the entire congressional delegation. Every member of that delegation signed a letter of support. That was a bipartisan effort. So a lot of conversations, a lot of effort went into communicating as clearly and persuasively as possible to the federal government, to the administration, just how dire the situation has been here and will continue to be. And so I just appreciate all those voices that have come together, but especially the 2 senators who are here today.
We have time for one more question.
Is there anything in particular with this last weather event that you found this area did really well that you would recommend to other agencies within cities and counties, or moving forward, do you think there needs to be any modifications to learning from this last weather event?
I can't tell you every place that we've been so far, there is almost a kumbaya moment in the notion that everybody worked together, first in the preparation and planning, and then in the execution and cooperation. And so we're hearing that everywhere. But I want to shout out, you heard the NOAA forecaster, and I think that that's what we need to communicate to preparedness across the nation. We do see fires, we do see floods, we do see hurricanes, we see tornadoes, but if a community doesn't know what those events and the damage can do, and look at what Senator Murray and the mayor was able to do here at the last 2021, whatever year the flood was able to then build this seawall that protects this community. So I am sure there are other parts of our state that need a similar infrastructure. I'm sure there are other parts of the country, but it starts with that weather forecasting, having the best weather forecasting, having those people translate that days, if not weeks in advance. And that's the key thing, is to have it weeks in advance if you can, and then everybody else goes into action. And I think that's what we've learned here. Give the community the tools, and the community will respond.
Yeah, I would just add, and Maria said it right, I think what we have seen this week is just a real amazing amount of people and agencies who've come out to work together side by side. Doesn't matter political persuasion, region, wherever. From FEMA to NOAA to our National Guard to Red Cross folks to all of our first responders, just in every community, coming together as friends and neighbors to make sure that everyone is okay. And that is I think a huge plus for the state of Washington, and we're going to have to keep that as we move forward over the coming days. I think one of the things we've heard, and I want to share with all of you, is that as great as this sunny day is, that some of the hardest times are coming as people assess roads that may have buckled and they have to be repaired, or families that cannot get back into their mobile home that's been destroyed, or communities that have lost resources that we don't even know about today. And we have to stay together, all of us working together, local, state, and federal, to make sure we're here for them in the long run. And that's, I think, something that we're all really understanding. And for everybody out there, don't assume everything is safe. Do not assume that a road is safe. If the first responders tell you don't go down that road, don't go down that road. So I think that's an important message for everyone today as well.
And just the last thing I'll add to that question, which I appreciate it's an important one, is we were in King County yesterday and heard a briefing from King County officials. One thing they emphasized was, King County has a flood district that was created back in, I think, 2007. I remember back on the council, but they talked about the hundreds of millions of dollars of investments to prevent floods that King County, as one example, has made over those years, and how they made it very, very clear, had it not been for those investments, the situation in King County would have been far, far worse. So I think there are lessons there. On the drive here from Monroe, I called up my chief of staff, Shane, and said, hey, Shane, put on your calendar February 1st to have a conversation about what lessons did we learn from this. As successful as it has been, and it has been by any fair measure, tremendously successful in terms of response, I suspect, hey, you can always improve, and there will be other disasters. And so I just said, let's bookmark that, get folks together like the folks here, let's have a conversation. Once we dig out from this, move forward, let's have that conversation. We can always improve and look forward to that. And just lastly, I think, just to echo, I think, Senator, what you were saying is, the coming weeks and months will be, tremendously stressful for so many Washingtonians. That's putting it, very mildly. Have you seen the videos? Homes literally floating down the river. I mean, I don't have words for an individual who's going through, or a family who's going through something like that, and that's just one of, thousands of situations. So, for those Washingtonians, we are united. We're here for them. We'll do everything in our power with all the partners we have to be there for them in the really challenging days that are ahead for them and for our state. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, Senator. Good to see you.
All right.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Go Cougs.